Devamitra has been visiting Singapore and encouraging activities there since 1988.
Singapore gives us our best opportunity for breaking into the Chinese community with the FWBO. The national language is English, so we've got an advantage there straight away. My own involvement with Singapore began towards the end of 1988, after my first visit to Australia. That began because I'd been asked by Bante if I would contact the Buddhist library, who'd invited him to do some public lectures there, which he didn't feel able to do. And they invited me to go and give some public lectures there, which I did at the end of 1988, beginning of 1989.
You have to actually start treading the Buddhist path. So what should one do in order to be a Buddhist? Well, you have to practice the Dhamma.
The visit went extremely well. My lectures were very well attended and seemed to be very well received indeed. So from that point onwards, the Buddhist library kept inviting me back. I was there in November participating in the Guide to Buddhism course, which is organised by the Buddhist library every year. So I gave 17 lectures on this occasion then. I think it's a particularly good place for us because many of the so-called Buddhists of Singapore are quite disillusioned with traditional Buddhism there and are clearly looking for an alternative. And many of these people are also very concerned about what's happening in Singapore with regards to the spread of Christianity, because Christianity is getting very strongly rooted there now. The conversion rate amongst the Buddhist community to Christianity is something like 1% per year, which is a very, very high rate of conversion. So a lot of the Chinese Buddhists there are very concerned to sort of stem this flow away from Buddhism. They feel that if we could introduce into Singapore Buddhism, which has, if you like, got a Western approach, which has got a sort of a Western seal upon it, well, that will keep a lot more people in Singapore in the Buddhist fold. At the moment we've got 3 mitras living there. There was just Karuna Sirkar on her own running classes. She's subsequently been joined by Lynette, a mitra from New Zealand, and Ivan Chan, who was one of our friends in Singapore, has now become a mitra recently.
I purify my mind.
I had a 3-month course at the beginning of the year at the Buddhist library for meditation. After that we had a 1-day retreat, and following on from there we have classes once a week, which are both meditation and study. In the beginning of the 5th...
Obviously we would like to have order members there as well, and preferably working full-time for the FWBO there, so that we can establish these links with the Chinese community in Singapore. I think it'll represent quite a challenge, because I don't think it's necessarily going to be an easy thing to do, because we'll be trying to break into a community which, with which we have had very little contact previously, and which is very, very different from, for example, our friends in India. The Indian situation is very different from the Western situation. We'll be trying to establish the FWBO within a community where Buddhism has been very much part of their culture. And of course Chinese culture is very, very different indeed, not only from Indian culture but from Western culture. So it represents, or will represent, a completely new departure for the FWBO getting established there. But once we are established in Singapore, it would mean, hopefully, that we had a means of then getting more easily established within mainland China, which I think probably is a sort of the long-term goal for the Singapore project.